So I'm standing in line at TJ Maxx. You know, I'm in that long line that wraps around. Register 5 is now available. And I was contemplating the meaning of life next to a rack of dog treats and USB ports. And there was a couple standing in front of me with their young kid. And there was nothing remarkable about the couple. And I was trying to be a jerk. There was just nothing special about the situation is what I'm trying to say. But while I was standing there waiting to save 10% off my new frying pan, I kind of had like a flashback and thought there used to be a time when I would look at people and wondered, what is it like to be worldly? You have to understand, growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I was always observing worldly people like it was a National Geographic. And now we watch the mating dance of the marsupial. Worldly people were fascinating to me because I was told from infancy that I'm not one of them. When you grow up in the Jehovah's Witnesses, okay, you are told from infancy, from the time you are a small child, you are no part of this world. Let that sink in. You don't belong to this world. You are taught that non-Jehovah's Witnesses are beneath you. They're all immoral. And no matter how, I don't want to hear it, no matter how nice or normal they appear, there is always an ulterior motive. And that motive is to hurt you in some way. Anyone who's not a Jehovah's Witness is selfish, ignorant, and dangerous. But my ex-J-dubs in the house, we didn't think that, did we? We actually thought that the worldly kids at school were fun, had interesting hobbies, social lives. They played sports and had fun like normal kids. They got to sleep in and watch cartoons on Saturday morning. Their parents were nice and worked at Bank of America. Do murderers and crazy people and boring home lives exist? Of course. But the organization always made it look like all worldly people, and worldly, I've said this before in all my videos, worldly is used as a slur in the Jehovah's Witnesses. They made it look like all worldly people are these depraved creatures, almost like they didn't even deserve the dignity of being called human. You weren't trained to see people as people, you know, with the good, the bad, the boring, the mundane. More importantly, you weren't trained to see yourself that way. J-dubs or ex-J-dubs, am I right? You were special as Jehovah's Witnesses. We were not like them, okay? They're not your friends, and they're not something that you should aspire to. Again, this really screws with a kid's brain. Kids need to feel like they belong. They don't need to feel so different that they can't get close to the majority of the human population. And let me be very clear about something. There's a difference between just be yourself. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to stand out of the crowd. You don't have to follow the crowd. There is a difference between that and being raised in a cult. Against your will, having a set of rules and expectations imposed on you from birth that separates and isolates you without you having any say or understanding of what's happening to you. Okay, this is not your choice. This is your parents' choice that they made for you. So what happens is Jehovah's Witness kids are only allowed to associate with this very small sliver of approved people. Because they're isolated from their peers and not allowed to associate with them, they feel really weird and awkward. And for a lot of former Jehovah's Witnesses, that feeling doesn't necessarily go away just because you're getting older. How do I know? Because I left the organization 7 years ago, and I still had to remind myself at 38 years old, standing in line at that damn TJ Maxx, that it was all a lie. They lied to us. You have always been part of this world. There is no us versus them. It was all a lie, man. So this whole concept of like otherness is how I like to describe it. Like they don't know how to make friends after they leave, or not just friends, they don't know how to relate to people like at all. They're really like nervous and awkward. It's like they missed these developmental milestones when they were growing up. How do you overcome this social awkwardness? I'm socially awkward having grown up as a Jehovah's Witness. What advice do you have? Here are my 2 cents, take it or leave it. 1, no one cares. What I mean by no one cares is no one is paying attention to you. Like, you ever had that moment growing up where you're like, they can tell. Whatever the thing is, they can tell I'm a virgin. I'm at this job interview and I'm too stupid and I'm not gonna get it. I feel like I'm a fraud. I have this imposter syndrome. Whatever the thing is, whatever that voice is telling you, everyone has that voice. Everyone's listening to their own voice. No one's paying attention to yours. That's the reality. Everyone is wrapped up in their own stuff. Are there judgmental people out there? for sure. But it's okay, they're gonna get to know you first before they judge you, right? But most people, 99% of people, are too focused on their own jobs, marriage, financial problems, kids, laundry. They got their own shit, to notice or sense that you're this weird Jehovah's Witness or former Jehovah's Witness who has no real world social experience. It's not on their radar, so quit walking around like you have a sign on your head. In fact, the more you walk around like that, the more you walk around with this or carry this small energy, I'm so weird, no one gets me, you're gonna create a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're gonna continue to isolate yourself, and you're not gonna develop the self-respect required to navigate the larger world outside the Kingdom Hall and outside of the JW life that you know. At that point, you will self-sabotage and reinforce the belief that you're so weird and different that you will isolate yourself, you're gonna pull back, you're gonna act weird, and people are not gonna wanna be around you anyways because you're exhausting. Okay, a little tough love here. Speaking from one former Jehovah's Witness to another, don't flatter yourself that your weirdness and pain is so special that you can't overcome your insecurities and find community. All right, bruh, you can drag your ass to the local pub, right, for trivia night, talk to some people and make some new friends. 2, worldly is a construct. Let this be your friendly reminder, okay, that worldly in the JW sense is total bullshit. We all know that the organization hijacked certain terms and converted them into loaded language. The term worldly in the real world means sophisticated, traveled, maybe they're educated, went to school or whatever. They got street smarts. I wasn't born yesterday. They've been around, they know some stuff. They've been exposed to a variety of social situations, so they're worldly. They know how to work through those things. But in JW world, worldly is a cop-out. It was just an easy way to divide people, divide the world into 2 categories, good and bad, so you didn't have to do any critical thinking. Okay? They were doing the thinking for you. When you start thinking for yourself, you're like, that person is not a Jehovah's Witness. They're kind, they're polite, they seem to be very compassionate, they're helping others, they're responsible, productive members of society. Just use your damn brain. And as time goes on, the cognitive dissonance or confusion that we all experience from judging people, from going through that process of like, they look okay, but they're not okay. They can't be okay, but they look okay. That's going to start to dissipate. You're going to be like, I knew they were normal. Just normal, meaning just like they're just human. They're just people. They're just everyday people trying to get by. We're all just trying to get by and get through life. It's almost going to be like a duh moment. And also, you're also going to realize that you're not joining the other side. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what Watchtower wanted us to believe, right? You left Jehovah, you left the organization to join Satan's world. Now you're on the other side, in the other group. Like you went from one category to another category. No. Worldly is a construct. Worldly is a label they use to keep you in fear. You're going to be shedding a label that was never real. It's not real. It's only real to Jehovah's Witnesses. It loses its grip. The grip on your brain, it had this vice grip. It starts to loosen. Are there bad people in the world? Yes. Bad people are in the organization too. The bottom line, when you stop giving power to something that was never real in the first place, then it will no longer have power over you. 3, everyone has problems. So this kind of goes with everything else, but once you realize and accept that everyone has their shit, everyone feels insecure about something, you stop making such a big deal out of your own XJW awkwardness. If anything, I've noticed a lot of people show or demonstrate some sort of curiosity and compassion. Oh, wow, you were a Jehovah's Witness? What was that like? I always wondered why they did blah, blah, blah. So, people get curious about it and will ask you questions. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to dismiss what we had to go through as Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not going to act like it wasn't weird and that other people didn't have it easier in a lot of ways. A lot of people will never know what it felt like to be left out of holiday parties or birthday parties at school and had to go sit in the hallway or go to the library. You didn't have to stand there like a freak during the Pledge of Allegiance. You had the fear of God instilled in you that you do not salute the flag. You just stand there. They will never know what it felt like to wake up on Saturday morning and have to go, put on pantyhose and church clothing, a suit and a tie, and go knock on strangers' doors and have people slam the door in your face, or, scream at you. It was fucking weird, man. It was a weird life. What I'm saying is you don't have to self-shame or punish yourself because most people, they're not going to care and actually I've noticed a lot of cases, they try to pipe up or they want to share whatever they were dealing with back in high school that made them feel weird and awkward. And this is sort of the initial phase that you're going to go through. And, eventually your otherness or that awkwardness that you're feeling is going to become more and more of a distant memory. Like, it's cool. You'll have new shit to deal with. Everybody's got their daily stressors and insecurities and baggage. You're going to be okay. Life goes on. That's all I got. I hope this helped wherever you are in your XJW recovery. Just know that everyone feels insecure and out of place sometimes. As usual, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more content about the Jehovah's Witnesses and post-JW life, and I'll see you next time.